So I think it speaks to what we're all dealing with right now in our lives. We're looking at our lives and we're saying, what's mine to do? And then how do you know what's yours to do? And then how do you know what to do when you get that guidance? So we're going to talk a little bit about this crowbar, which is my visual aid for today. And this crowbar represents for me, and has for probably about 15 years, making a meaningful change, getting unstuck from a state of what I call rancid state of consciousness, that old stuck energy, that, oh, it's good enough, or, you know, I'm used to it, or if I could just get this person to do what they should be doing, I'll be just fine. So ask yourself, what is it that's keeping you stuck? Where are you stuck in consciousness? And sometimes you need to use some powerful truth statements, some powerful affirmations. Whenever I see political announcements on TV or things in the news that I don't like, I have a multi-part affirmation that I use as my divine WD-40 to unstick the windows of heaven so that I can get into that flow again. And it starts with, I absolve myself to myself. Together? I absolve myself to myself. All past hurts have been erased. Together? All past hurts have been erased. I've forgiven everyone. Together? I've forgiven everyone, and I've forgiven myself. Together? I've forgiven myself. Now you notice it's past tense. I have already forgiven. It moves me into that state where there's no arguing about it. There's no action to take because it's already been taken. And sometimes that gets me unstuck. But in your life, what can you use? How can you get unstuck in your life? Well, this brings us to this wonderful book. Now, how many people have read this book by Dr. Seuss? Oh, the Places You'll Go. This is a great book. And this morning, I was awakened, and you gotta read the book to him, because there is a lot of truth contained within these pages. And for everyone in this room, there's a point of embarkation that you're just about ready to take some kind of a journey in your consciousness. This last week I was with Rosalie in Brooklyn, and we went to Philadelphia and back again, and learned a lot about the Founding Fathers and how they were people of action. They took action, and sometimes the actions didn't work out very well, but they continued to take action. And sometimes that route to where you're supposed to go in life, when you lift up your star of heartfelt courage and you're moving towards it, it seems to go back and forth. It's less like a speedboat that directly goes there, and more like a sailboat. Have you ever gone sailing? And you got to catch the wind, and you go this way, and you tack back and forth. But it's always moving you in that direction. You know, B.F. Skinner said that learning is always a matter of inter-successive approximations. Inter-successive approximations. That means that when he was looking at the rats looking for the cheese, they go this way, they go that way, they would tack back and forth, and it looks like that they're lost or they're going in the wrong direction, but every move was always an inter-successive approximation toward the goal. Now, there's some cheese in your life, and that cheese perhaps could be that statement, that mission statement, or that purpose statement that we were talking about a moment ago in the meditation. What is that for you? Can you identify it? Can you simplify it enough so that it can rest on your heart? And don't worry about it being the right one or perfect, because you can change it. You know, it's just an outer expression or symbol for something that is an inner yearning. And for me, for years, it was to know God, to love God, to serve God. Other times in my life, it's been to be an empowered facilitator, which is an interesting one that came. But for me now, it's to lift up my star of heartfelt courage for each and every soul. For you, it's something. Get in touch with what that is. And when you set that out there, then as you're moving towards it, sometimes if you just stop and judge yourself in the moment, you might be tacking in a way that looks like it's getting away from it. But you're not. You're making an inner successive approximation towards it. And so this growth-filled journey of life contains these turns and these twists, and it's a journey that is spoken of so beautifully in this book. So I'll ask you a question. Who's this little guy in this book. Who do you think this little guy is? Anyone, everyone, me, you. Where's he going? He's not sure, but he knows it's going to be good. And so, oh, the places you'll go. Congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the one who'll decide where to go. You'll look up and down streets, look them over with care. About some you will say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down any not-so-good street. And you may not find any you'll want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. It's opener there in the wide open air. Out there, things can happen, and frequently do, to people as brainy and footsy as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew, just go right along. You'll start happening too. Oh, the places you'll go. You'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar to high heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang and soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest, except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true, that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on. You'll be left in a lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You will come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're darkened. A place that you could sprain both your elbow and chin. Do you dare to stay out? Do you dare to go in? How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right? Or right and 3/4? Or maybe not quite? Or go around back and sneak in from behind? Simple it's not, I'm afraid you will find, for a mind maker-upper to make up their mind. You can get so confused that you'll start in to race down long wiggled roads at a breaknecking pace and grind on for miles across weirdish, wild space, headed, I fear, toward a most useless place, the waiting place. For people just waiting. Waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, or waiting around for a yes or a no, waiting for their hair to grow. Everybody is just waiting. Waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for the wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. No, that's not for you. Somehow you'll escape all that waiting and staying. You'll find the bright places where boom bands are playing. With banner flip-flapping, once more you'll ride high, ready for anything under the sky, ready because you're that kind of a guy. Oh, the places you'll go, there's fun to be done, there's points to be scored, there's games to be won. And the magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame. You'll be as famous can be. With the whole wide world watching you win on TV, except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too. Games you can't win, because you'll play against you. All alone, whether you like it or not. Alone will be something you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet some things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. But on you will go, though the weather be foul. On you will go, though your enemies prowl. On you will go, though the hackencracks howl. Onward, up many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers might leak. On and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far and face up to your problems wherever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up, of course, with many strange birds as you go. So be sure when you step with care and great tact. And remember, life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot with your left. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98 3/4% guaranteed. Kid, you'll move mountains. So, be your name Buxbaum, or Bixby, or Bray, or Mordecai, Ali, Van Allen, O'Shea, you're off to great places. You're off and away. Your mountain is waiting. So, get on your way. I'm sharing that with you because I was guided to. And how do you get in touch with that guidance? When you're guided to make it move in your life, how do you do that? Perhaps you take the time for your own soul, the time to listen to your heart, the time to find out what your heart is telling you, and you say, that's kind of a difficult thing to do. Who am I to think that my inner spirit is going to speak with me? But you know, the voice of your inner spirit speaks to you, and not necessarily in words. You might find circumstances will move in your life in an unexpected way. And if you're stuck, and you need some divine WD-40, or you need a pry bar, sometimes you'll get the guidance that you need in an unexpected way. This happened to me in my second church. It was 34 years ago. And I came into that church, and not to be critical, but the person who was working in the office was very, very unhappy about just about everything. And it was day after day and week after week, very, very unhappy time. And I can work with that, and I did, and it was all fine. It was difficult, but it was fine. And then one day in my meditation time, in the quiet, it came to me, you need to write down what it is that you want. What would be a good objective? What would be a good solution to this problem? What kind of energy would you like in that room? What kind of consciousness? What kind of skills, certainly, but more a sense of feeling. And so I wrote those things down, and I put it in my God box. And I showed up at work, and I got a call that very day from a woman who was in our youth education department, in our Sunday school. I didn't know her because we only had one service, so she was there with the kids. I knew who she was. And she said, I'm at the point in my life where I'm ready to seek employment, but I need some clarity on it, and I need some prayer support. Would you meet with me maybe on Monday, and we can talk about this and pray about this, and I can find out what's mine to do next? And it was all over me. She was the one. She was the one. I didn't know why I knew, but I knew that I knew, and I didn't know why. So I said, sure, I'd be glad to meet with you. I hung up the phone, and I thought, okay, God, how are you going to pull this one off? I showed up Monday morning. Now, you understand, I took action. I had taken action in consciousness, which is the most powerful place to take action. We think running around out here in the outer world is the powerful thing to do. But you'll be guided to take action in the outer once you do the inner action. And so I'd done that work. And so that Monday morning, I showed up at 9 o'clock. This woman was supposed to show up at 9, but she was about 5 minutes late. So the woman who was in the office looked at me, and she did not look happy. Surprise. She looked at me and she said, I quit. I'm allergic to the room. I'd never heard of somebody being allergic to a room before. I didn't ask her what that meant. I just said, oh, okay, well, we'll need to find someone, and we'll make some plans. And she seemed amenable to that, and that was all fine. The other woman showed up. Now, I forgot to tell you that in my preparation time, I'd gotten very clearly that I could not offer this woman the job, that she had to ask for it. Well, what are the chances of that? So I went into the meeting figuring, well, so far so good. And we spent the hour and she told me about her life's journey and what brought her there and why it was time and what she was looking for in general terms. Got to the end of the hour and she still hadn't asked for the job, and I was going, maybe I can fudge this a little. Is there anything else that you'd like to ask me? And she said, well, yeah, as a matter of fact there is, but it's too ridiculous, so I don't think I will. No, go ahead, try me. And she said, well, I mean, I always wanted to work here. I said, great, you're hired. We got up and I talked to the person at the desk and introduced them, and the woman left, and then the woman at the desk said, I changed my mind. And I said, you know, we've already hired your replacement, you got the guidance, you know it's the right thing to do. And she reluctantly agreed and trained the other person, and it was a beautiful change. I'm sharing this with you because you think you're stuck in consciousness. You think, I'm always going to be codependently enabling this, or dealing with this situation, or stuck in this old rancid state of consciousness. But the truth is that you're not stuck. And if you're willing to take the steps in consciousness, the steps that are a heartfelt, courageous step, you can move into something new. But you've got to be willing to take the step. And in your life, where can you take those steps? Well, you've got to back up your desires with your willingness to act. You know, courage, as I said a moment ago, is not so much a matter of being a superhero or having any kind of incredible, heroic something. It's really just somebody who acts. As I was there in Independence Hall, I noticed that, as they were telling the story, that these people were really extraordinary people. And it wasn't always a bed of roses for them, but they were willing to act, except for the people from Rhode Island. But everybody else was willing to act, and they moved forward. And in your life right now, I'm going to ask you to do something. Take a look in your life where you can make a list of your best understanding of the way something that seems stuck can work out. Oh, the places you'll go. Maybe get a copy of that book too. In fact, while you're at it, go out and buy one of these. And you can put it out there and you can look at it, and it can help you to get yourself unstuck. You know, Jesus talked a lot about getting unstuck. He was really the master of change. And something is very interesting about him. He wasn't always lovey-dovey and nicey-nicey. He was sometimes pretty tough. He said, you need to be salty. He said, salt, if it's not salty enough, will just be spilled out on the road and people will just step on it. You've got to have salt. That means you've got to have flavor. You've got to stand for something. You've got to engage your heart. You've got to put that forth. And that includes, at times, saying no. You know, Jesus said, let your yeses be yes and your noes be no. And if you're wishy-washy, well, you're not even worth anything. You've got to, at times, under guidance, act. Now, in his case, you remember the story of overturning the money changers' tables in the temple? You know, in his culture, they actually believed that if you'd done something wrong, you could set it right by killing a small animal or bird in the temple. That's something that they let go of in their religion within one generation of him, but they were still doing it, but it was even worse than that. In order to do that, you had to buy your bird or animal there in the temple. You couldn't bring one in yourself. And they charged between 5 and 10 times the going rate for those birds. And the high priest's family took the money. But you couldn't buy those things with your Roman money. No, you had to buy it with sacred temple money. You ever see one of these currency exchange places and they get a cut? Well, their cut was 50%. And so you would exchange your money, and then you'd buy these overpriced birds, and then you'd kill a bird on an altar. And the whole thing was just, I don't know. It was something that needed to change. So what did he do? Well, first of all, he didn't act until he was guided to act. And you need to act under guidance. Don't just go flying off. You know, don't come... Because I'm talking about this today doesn't mean that you're supposed to indiscriminately go off and do something. But take it into prayer. Create your list. Create your objective in terms of your life's objective, your mission statement or whatever. Get ready in consciousness. And then you'll be guided what to do. Like that day when I got that guidance and wrote down those things, and the woman called me. These things will work out for you. And Jesus was he was an interesting person because he chose people who were pretty tough to be his disciples. They weren't perfect. You say to yourself, well, what if I make a mistake? What if I don't live up to whatever? Well, look at some of the people he picked. He picked Paul, who was going around as a zealous person who was actually persecuting and killing people who were followers of Jesus until he had this conversion experience. Or Matthew, who was a tax collector. You know, tax collectors would cheat people out of their money, and anything that was the difference between the money they owed in taxes and what they could get people to pay them, they could keep. So everybody disliked tax collectors. But Jesus needed something from Paul. He needed Paul's zealousness. And from Matthew, he needed Matthew's intellect and his ability to maybe be clever. And that was a gift he needed. Then there's that woman who was a prostitute that he caught, and he said to her, much has been forgiven you, for you have loved much. Now, if she was to tell you what her mission statement was, perhaps it was to love much. Perhaps she misinterpreted the way to get that done, but she had that love consciousness, and so he was saying, okay, get on this other track, but your basic heart is good. In your life right now, just know that whatever it is that you're holding as an ideal, you'll be backed up by the whole universe, but you've got to be willing to take the action that says to the universe and to your own subconscious mind that you're going to follow through. You've got to have a good second act. My meditation teacher, Jane Hart, says, a lot of people have a good first act. What's your second act? There's a great story about this that Jesus taught. He said, now what do you think? There was a man who had 2 sons, and he went to the first and he said, son, you go and work today in the vineyard. His son answered, I will not. But then he changed his mind and he went. Then the father went to the other son and he said the same thing. And his son answered, yes, I will, sir. But he didn't go. Now, which of the 2 did the thing that his father had asked? The first, they answered. Jesus said to them, well, I'm going to tell you something right now. The tax collectors and the prostitutes are going to enter the kingdom of God ahead of you because you were shown their way of righteousness, but you didn't believe. The tax collectors and the prostitutes did. Meaning, and this is a beautiful analogy, that it isn't what you've done, and it's even not that you do it perfectly, but that you have that star of heartfelt courage and that you're willing to move with it, you're willing to act with it. So where in your life can you do these 2 things? The first is come up with an objective, a mission. And the second is to perhaps write down the list of how you'd like something to work out that you're stuck in. Your objective, your mission. You know, as I've shared, it's less a matter of going directly like you were in a speedboat than tacking back and forth in a sailboat. And sometimes the winds cause you to go in the wrong direction. But the inner successive approximations will move you where you need to go. But you've got to have that objective. And so what is in your life that you can get unstuck and move towards? And what can you create a list that you are moving in a new direction? And then the whole universe will come and back you up. You will be supported. And you'll find yourself moving in unexpected ways. Oh, the places you'll go. You'll find that the whole universe is supporting you. And you're making movements in your life. And this is, why not? I mean, you're on earth anyway. You were placed on earth to do something. And it wasn't just to, win the lottery or you get a beach house in Florida or a lake house in Wisconsin and sit around and twiddle your thumbs. It's to grow spiritually. And it shows up to the extent that you're willing to engage yourself and lift up your star of heartfelt courage. So close your eyes and join with me in this moment. And know that that desire of your heart, that desire to grow and to change and to know, this is a star you're lifting up. And so lighten up your energy and lift up into that place that can see that there is a desire in your heart. And take a moment to identify your best understanding of what it is. and commit to it with your whole heart. Love this dream with your whole being. And as you lift up your star of heartfelt courage, now feel the sense that the whole universe of good is backing you up, is supporting you, uplifting you, moving in and through you. And so anything that comes up that's in the way, silently say, I cast this on God and I go free. I let go of all sense of personal control. I am now open and receptive to the whole universe of support. And now move into this now moment. And just be and feel and know. Thank you, God. Thank you that I lift up my star of heartfelt courage and I move forward towards the fulfillment of my soul's purpose. And I even make the commitment to go home and write down anything that might mean the fulfillment, the movement in a stuck place in my life. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. Now take a deep breath and let it out and move into this now moment that's waiting for you. You know the whole universe is supporting you as you take your courageous step. Whatever this is towards the aspiration of your heart. And so beginning with a feeling sense of what you really want out of life. The fulfillment of your heart, the opening of your soul, to know God, to be the love of God in action, to experience warm and deep compassion, an understanding heart. Get in touch with what your soul is calling you towards. That inner desire of heart. We often talk about in this church the 3 steps of manifesting things. What do you want? What's in the way? And what are you doing about it? And today we're going to talk about taking action, that 3rd step. But let's begin with what do you want? And know that whatever it is that your heart is calling you towards, lift up your star of heartfelt courage. Lighten up your being. This desire of your heart. To know, love, and serve. To be and experience divine love. Find your own words for it. And silently lift up this star of heartfelt courage. And know, and now feel that the whole universe is supporting you in this. It's as if you're being lifted up. And your energy lightens up. And you let go. I let go of all that I've been concerned about. I cast this on God and I go free. And this causes me to grow still lighter, even lighter. I lift up my star of heartfelt courage. I lighten up and I let go. And I take a moment to open my heart and engage my whole beingness with that desire of my heart for fulfillment, peace, guidance, love, joy, hope. In this now moment is everything I need to support me in this. I feel the whole universe of love that loves me personally, the great love of God supporting me in this. And I move into, as I move into this now moment, once again I lighten up my energy and lift up my star of heartfelt courage. I let go and I cast everything on God and I go free. And I move in this now moment into the fulfillment of my heart. I am divinely guided and released into action. Soul, heart action. Thank you, God. And so it is. So I'm going to give our offering with that statement about lifting up the star of heartfelt courage. And I want you to get in touch with what that true belief is in your heart. So I lift up my star of heartfelt courage and I receive abundantly. Together. I lift up my star of heartfelt courage and I receive abundantly. And silently. And again aloud together. I lift up my star of heartfelt courage, and I receive abundantly. And so it is. Amen.